Good, we're all live. So welcome everybody today. I do have, I'll try that one more time. Testing, 1, 2, 3, that's better. Good. It's one of those issues. So we are advised to speak close to the microphone so that it comes up on the recording clearly and so that we can hear. But if we are too close, then we get the whine. And if we're too far away, the recording doesn't pick up our voices. So when you are speaking, people, please just try to adjust yourself accordingly. And one of the issues we do have is if the microphone is the other side of a laptop, it doesn't pick it up at all. So we'll try and do our best. Okay, so I've got to read the fire procedure for the main chamber. So in case of an emergency, there are no planned fire drills during this meeting. If you hear the fire alarm, please treat it as real emergency and evacuate the building via the nearest escape route. The nearest escape route is via the stairs as you leave on the left as you leave the chamber or the public gallery. Exit via the door at the back of the building, walk across the inner car park to the evacuation point, which is the pavement opposite the police station. Notice opposite the police station, not crossing the road. The lifts cannot be used in the event of an emergency. Please do not re-enter the building until you're advised it is safe to do so. Thank you very much indeed. Right, so item 1 on the agenda today is apologies and substitutions, if any. I don't believe there are any. Okay, thank you. The second item is the minutes of the last meeting, which was held on 3rd September 2025, which I have a copy of with me here. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any comments or corrections to those minutes? No, so I'll move them from the chair. I'll look for a seconder for those of somebody who was present on that occasion. Thank you, Vanessa. All those in favour of those, please signify. You okay, Joe? Yep, all right, good. We'll take that as done. Do I still need to initial all the earlier pages? One day we'll have this electronic. Now that I've just got my digital ID, government digital ID sorted out, should be able to use that. Right, item 3 on the agenda, and then is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? No, good. Number 4 is public questions. I'm told we do not have any written public questions, but we do have some in the gallery. Could you press the microphone button,
Mark? I have done. Can you hear me all right? Yeah, okay.
It should go green, and then after a while transition.
It's still red at the moment, but there's not any political statement in that, of course. Yeah, it's still red. It's. You can hear me all right? Okay, we ready to go? Yeah. Okay, yeah, all right, yeah. Mark Chiverton, Branch Secretary, Unison, and a member of the Local Government Pension Scheme. And this is a question that I asked at the last meeting. It's in the minutes, and it just refers back to the legal notice that was sent in early September to all LGPS authorising authorities and pensions committees by the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, setting out a summary of the legal obligations on local government pension schemes to divest from companies and organisations supporting Israeli human rights violations both in Gaza and in all of the occupied territories. Now, at that stage, I think you indicated that you had received it but hadn't had time to consider it. And the minutes clearly show that the question was asked and that you were expecting a collective response likely to be guided by the national advice from the Scheme Advisory Board. I just wondered if that advice had been received now, whether there's been the opportunity to consider it and what the response of the Council will be to that advice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. So there is a collective advice which has come back via the LGA, I believe, but I don't know if that's been actually distributed yet, Steve.
Yeah, we commissioned some separate legal advice in tandem with several access authorities, but I've not had time to consider it in view of the other issues we're dealing with today. So we do have some further legal advice that we can discuss in due course, but I've not had time to do anything with that advice as yet.
Could we, just to be helpful to Mark in response to his question, could we give him a timescale for when we'd be able to give a response to that collective legal advice?
Well, I hope within the next fortnight we could, certainly by the end of the month. So I'd hope maybe by I think we've got a further meeting, haven't we, on the 26th of November. So by that sort of time scale, we should be in a position to see what the legal advice says and absorb it and react to it by then. Okay,
thank you. So is that okay, Mark? So before the next meeting, which is, we believe, the 26th, we'll have had time to look at that and provide you with a response. And we'll make sure that the response, because your question was submitted for the last meeting, that the response gets listed with the paperwork on as usual.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I recognise that this meeting is due to discuss other matters other than that. This has been hanging around for quite a long time now. There is a big public interest in it. There's interest amongst Unison members in the issue. Will the advice be available in time for the debate that is potentially to take place at full council on the motion on the Palestinian issue?
So I've had correspondence with the chair, Councillor Indore, just to confirm that the motion does come, because it was deferred and noted by him, was deferred to the next full council meeting. So it will come before the next full council meeting. And I would urge our pension fund manager, if it is possible to get that out before the full council meeting on the 19th. It will be an important, I won't say necessarily material, but it will be an important consideration to that, particularly given that it includes legal references. But I think at this point, I should also seek an input here from our legal support who's online, Francis. Francis, you may not have heard the question. We had a question before the committee at the last meeting regarding. Can you hear us, Francis? You're muted.
Yes, you are now coming through. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so you can hear us. Good. So just in case you didn't catch that, there was a question at the last Pension Fund Committee regarding the response to the Palestine Solidarity Campaign's legal representation, which was sent to the Isle of Wight Council, and I have to say a large number of other local authority pension funds. And we have not yet responded to that publicly, or indeed to the written question that Mark submitted. So that matter does come back to the full council on the 19th as an agenda item. I have discussed that with Ian Dorr in the last few days again. He did undertake that it would be deferred, which it has been done, to that full council meeting. So it would seem necessary that the legal response which we collectively with other authorities have to that letter is available to members and to the public prior to that full council meeting. Would you agree?
Yes, I mean, I need to catch up in terms of what the question, the legal question was. But yeah, I mean, if the other local authorities and all of us are going to do a joint response, then I can't see why it wouldn't go to members and potentially the public. But I do need to look into the detail of it, if you don't mind, Chair. Thank you.
Is that okay, Mark?
Well, I think we can't take it any further now. I may come back to you and others outside this meeting, but thank you. Okay.
Pleasure. I noticed, Mark, there's someone else with you. I couldn't see in the shadows at the back.
Thank you.
Ah,
It's hello.
yeah, hello. Could you introduce yourself, please?
My name's Marilyn Barrett. I'm also a member of the pension scheme. Just a short question. Has the committee finalised its review of the investment strategy statement yet? If not, why not? And if so, is it available for the public to see, for the members to see, please?
So we are in the process of carrying on with an ESG review. I was going to turn to Louisa here, but she's left. Are you able to respond to that, Steve, in Louisa's absence? Is she coming back, by the way? Okay.
Yes, it's a piece of work that still needs to be done. I think we'll probably pick up the threads of it as part of our update at the next meeting on valuation. So it won't be concluded by any means then, but we should be able to start progressing it thereafter, I would think. And part of it is also linked to which pool you're a part of as well. So it does have a link to today's agenda item.
There you are. Thank you for that question. Hopefully that's sufficient. Did you have a supplementary question?
No, sir. Thank you.
It's all right. Steve.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. A number of us would express an interest in the ESG side of the investment strategy policy. Will it be possible to have some consultation before it comes out as a document? Because otherwise it tends to arrive at the meeting as a sort of take it or leave it kind of submission. And it'd be helpful, I think, if committee members could have some input into the creation of that, the development of that ESG policy.
So I think it's important that all the members of the committee have an input to that process. That seems to be de rigueur, an obvious thing, but perhaps it does help. Thank you for the question. It does help to state it, and I'm sure the officers present will have made note of that. No more public questions. We'll turn to item 5 on the agenda, which is member question time. David, I can't see. I can only see if I can see you on the screen, but you had your hand up. You're also muted. Did you want to ask a question under public question time?
Chair, it was just in reference to the PSC question. If you wanted, I can give a brief update based on the latest Scheme Advisory Board meeting that was held on Monday of this week.
Please do. I think it's helpful to have a full answer as we can get.
Yeah, unfortunately, maybe not that helpful, but just say there was a verbal update at the Scheme Advisory Board Investment Committee on Monday this week. At the moment, the Scheme Advisory Board has written to government ministers to ask them for a response, given the gravity of the kind of questions being raised about human rights. But they are still awaiting a response from government. So at the moment, it's still with ministers awaiting a response from them. And I believe there was a representative from Unison at that meeting as well.
That's very helpful, David. I believe the legal document which arrived from PSG was also subject to the same referral to government ministers, was it not?
Yes, I believe so.
And have we received a response from the government ministers to that item?
No, still awaiting a response, Chair.
Okay. Nothing we can do, but thank you for your input, David. So item 5 then is member questions. Do we have any member questions this morning? And we do have some members online. I cannot see the totality of members online. I can only see the ones which are displayed at any one time on the board. But perhaps we could, do we have a way of seeing all the members who are online and see if they have their hand up rather than only what we don't? Okay. So what I'll do is I'll see if there are any member questions from those in the room, first of all, and then I'll turn to those who are online and suggest that if you're online and we cannot see you, that you simply take your microphone off and speak. They can't? We can't just enable members? Yeah. Right, thank you. Okay. So are there any member questions from the committee members, first of all? No. Oh, Vanessa.
Yes, we have 33 affiliated bodies to our pension scheme. Have they been informed of what is going on? Because obviously they make up a sizable portion of our scheme. Have they been informed? And I'm surprised if they have that one or two of them aren't here, because whatever decisions we make as a pension committee, as the trustees, will obviously affect them. Thank you, Chair.
So I'm aware that that matter is within the paperwork that we've got. So what I'd suggest is we, thank you for the question, that we hang on to that until we come into the main body of the document, when it is one of the items which is on one of the pages. I can't remember the page number, but it's a right-hand facing page halfway down when we come to affiliated bodies. I can see the page in my mind, but I can't see the page number clearly. So if you don't mind, we'll deal with that in the main body. Thank you. Councillor Spink, I'm told you're the only member online. If you're able to unmute yourself, did you have a question for the committee today?
Getting there.
Getting there.
I tried to so that you could see me, but perhaps it's better that you can't. I don't know, but I thought it was polite. I don't have a question at this stage, thank you, Chair, but I may like to join in, if I may, with your leave, on the specific agenda items.
So here's an administrative technical question here. When we exclude the public and press, that exclusion does not apply to councillors. Are we able to keep councillors online? I assume we are, because we want to keep Francis online. So can we be selective about who we drop off? We can. So good news, Peter and Francis, and any other officer, etc., who's present, is that when we do the exclusion for the press and public, we have a way of keeping you online so that you will be able to raise your point at the appropriate time, Peter.
Thank you very much.
And we can see you now.
Thank you.
Point of information. I'm with you to involve people as much as possible, but we have had other committees where I've been cut off as a member when they went into to private meeting, and I don't have the constitution in front of me. You're the chair. I will defer to you, and obviously I would prefer to have people here. But just so you know, I am aware that other chairs have treated differently.
So the constitution does make it clear. I know this bit quite well. Is that members can raise a question at any time during a meeting on an item when that item comes before the committee. I don't believe there's an exception there for things which are in closed session, but I'll let Francis provide his input.
Yes, Chair. The Constitution doesn't go to that level of granularity for other members, and I'm not sure what other chairs have been doing. But from your perspective, Chair, I think you've got the discretion for one. And the second thing is we need to bear in mind that in terms of the item being discussed, a similar report's going to go to full council. So all councillors will be getting access to the report and will be making a decision on it. So in exercising that discretion, I think it would be appropriate for you to allow other members to stay in if you so wish, Chair.
So I believe the Constitution says that they can ask questions anyway, so I will add to that my discretion, and particularly given that we only have one councillor who's on joining us, and we will during that session also be seeking, I'm sure, input from other officers and experts who are part of the meeting. So it's important that we are as open as we can. I like that transparent and openness to be spread as far as we can. Thank you for that. So if there are no more member questions at this point, Peter.
Chair, simply perhaps as some comfort, as it were, and I'm grateful to Francis for that advice. I remember at the Policy, Finance and Resources Committee meeting, I think it was the last one, where they went into private hearing, and I was there at the time in person, as it were, although not a member of that committee, and Councillor Jordan, who was chairing it, allowed me to remain. So there does seem to be a degree of precedent for the course that you're proposing to take, Chair, and indeed for the advice that Francis has kindly given.
So thank you, Councillor Spink, and I'll refer back to Francis here and say that perhaps this degree of clarification could be extended in the review of the Constitution, which is going on at the moment. I don't want to keep adding because we've added quite a lot of detail to it already, but where it adds clarification, perhaps we can add that to the constitutional review as yet another item on it. Thank you, Francis.
I'll take that on board, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm now going to move to item 6 on the agenda, which is the exclusion of the press and public, which we've already had quite a debate on. I have been given this morning a revised version of the message which I'm to read out. So I'll read it a little slower than I might otherwise do. To consider passing a resolution, I'm going to pause there. Is it a resolution or a motion? It's a resolution. Okay. To consider passing a resolution that under section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the public and press be excluded from the meeting for the following item of business, namely agenda item 7, on the grounds that there is likely to be a disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraphs 3, information relating to the financial or business affairs of any particular person, including the authority holding that information, close brackets, and 5, open brackets, third iteration, claim to legal professional privilege, close brackets, of part 1 of schedule 12A of the Act, and in all the circumstances of the case, the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. You all got that? So I'm going to ask for a show of hands that this is not a motion, it is a resolution. All those that would support the resolution, please signify. Okay. I lost the hands and went up and down. Did you? Can we just show clearly, please?
1,
okay.
2, 3, 4, 5.
And those against the resolution? 2.
2.
Any abstaining? No. Okay. So thank you for that. So that resolution is passed. Do we pass the resolution? I guess we do. I am going to say one additional thing, which is about process here, and that we had a dialogue with the monitoring officer and others prior to the meeting about the process we would follow. So we will remain in closed session once we go into it, keeping officers, nominated experts and members online for the debate of the items which are judged to be confidentially or legally privileged within the pack. We will then come out of that closed session to conclude that item and to vote on it so that that is in the public domain. But it is important that once we come out of that closed session, the members do not refer to the confidential information that we've discussed in the closed session. So I have to impress that upon you. Sorry if that makes it a little bit complicated. What I am going to rely on here is that the legal, investment and who are present and officers identify very quickly if we stray once we come back into the public session into any of the confidential information. because we will probably be in a discussion and a debate, and it can be very easy to move through that into other exempt information. So is everybody clear and happy about that? Steve?
Yeah, clearly some of this in the lilac papers is just statements of fact that what the government's done and hasn't done and would be in the public domain. Is it possible as we go through the debate and discussion for somebody to flag out actually this bit or that report or that phrase is confidential and should not be disclosed? Because otherwise when we have a discussion, we won't be able to know what is and isn't confidential.
I think we can endeavour to do that. I suspect it might be difficult at times, and you're right that some of the material that's in the paperwork is already in the public domain, in fact quite significantly, and some of it within the LGA domain as well, which has also been public. So I think we will seek to identify, please, I'm turning to the officers present and to Francis, those materials which are specifically confidential, so that we can specifically avoid reference to it once we come out of closed session. Is that okay? Some nods could help. Good. Okay. So, right. So now that we've passed that resolution, I'm going to ask the press and public and anybody who is not one of our representative advisors or a member or legal or an officer to remove themselves from the chamber. And we will terminate those links accordingly. While we're doing that, Warren.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought I would just quickly take that opportunity while the press were departing. I'm just curious to know, as a general point, and perhaps to take the part of Mr. Milford, the case law in relation to the provisions regarding exclusion of potentially confidential information discloses essentially a requirement that for every exclusion there is a individual discrete assessment of what the real commercial prejudice would be. And I just think it would be useful in general, in terms of comms for the council, for that to be disclosed more than just the generic boilerplate of the invocation of the provision, but actually to have a reasoned explication of exactly what is the commercial prejudice, what is the independent evidence-driven assessment which underlines that decision. I think that would be very helpful.
Thank you. So you probably saw one of the emails that I sent out prior to the meeting was suggesting that we specifically have identified to us this information in advance. I did get a response from Francis. I know that not all of you might have read that yet regarding the challenge of doing that. But Francis, can I hand over to you to deal with that question from Councillor Drew, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, Councillor Drew makes a very valid point, because if we are, because all meetings should be in public, and the exception is to go into private, not the other way around. So that's a very valid point. There is a provision in the Local Government Act that lets you go into private, but I think we should definitely look to adding a bit more context to the reason we're asking the committee to go to pass that resolution. So I think that's not a bad idea. It's just that in certain circumstances like today, there is so much in terms of the legal advice and elements of it. It'd be hard to try to kind of disaggregate the bits that were privileged and the ones that weren't. So the point I'm making is that take absolutely the point on board, so we don't have just a bold resolution, and we try to make as much of a narrative as possible to outline why we're asking the council or the committee to go into private session and pass the resolution. So yeah, you're right, Councillor Drew. Perfectly good point.
Did you want to come back on that, Councillor Drew? Seems like quite an important point.
No, I mean, it's safe to say, I think just in the interests of public transparency, it is best practice. There's certainly some things which I could identify quite quickly as not being, I would suggest, commercially sensitive. The legal advice, as I made the point at the previous committee, I do not think falls into that, save that potentially the provider of that legal advice may obviously wish to caveat the reliance of a third party upon that, which of course it would not be reasonable for them so to do in any event, or that they simply don't want any potentially erroneous or errata within their reports to reflect poorly on their corporate reputation. But save for those two areas, I really do not see why it needs to be confidentially protected.
Chair, if I could just add one more, sorry to prolong it, just if I can add one more. The stance I've always taken is that we should have as much decision making in public as possible, which means that you have a public element and you have a private element. So what we should endeavour to do, and we'll take this going forwards, a lesson going forwards, is that in the public element, so that the decisions made in public as far as possible, that report covers some of the elements of privilege and the reason that there's excluded material. So that report is an opportunity to outline in a bit more detail why the committee is being asked to go into private session. So